You are 14 years old and 3 days from camp. Not lost, sent. By age 14, forager teenagers contributed roughly 50% of adult caloric productivity, within 2 to 3 years of beginning serious skill training. So what exactly were ancient teenagers doing that we decided to stop letting ours do? You're probably thinking ancient adolescence was chaotic, unstructured risk without purpose. The data points in the opposite direction. In 2020, April Nowell at the University of Victoria published Adolescence and Innovation in the European Upper Paleolithic in Evolutionary Human Sciences, synthesizing archaeological evidence with forager ethnography across the Upper Paleolithic, 50,000 to 10,000 years ago. The core finding: teenagers were not the recipients of cultural knowledge in the Paleolithic. They were its primary carriers. Adolescents had the highest neurological reward sensitivity for novel experience, the lowest cost of geographic risk, no offspring, no accumulated resource base, and the strongest motivation to travel between groups. Shell ornaments from the Aegean Sea appear at inland Balkan sites 400 to 600 kilometers away. Novel tool techniques spread across continents. The most likely vectors, per Nowell's demographic analysis, were teenagers moving between bands for mate-seeking and reputation building. Ancient adolescence was not a protected developmental window, it was a deployment, and the neurobiology that drove it has not changed since. Cave handprints at Gargas Cave in France, dating to 27,000 years ago, were not made by adults. Researchers measured the stencil dimensions against modern reference populations and found that hand sizes corresponding to children aged 2 to 12 and adolescents aged 13 to 17 appear consistently, sometimes constituting the majority. This wasn't just art. It was a loyalty mechanism, integrating young people into the group's most significant symbolic activities at the developmental moment when they were most likely to leave. Miniature weapons weren't failed adult tools, they were a skill compression system. A spear point sized for juvenile hands, made from lower quality flint with rougher edge geometry, teaches the same napping motion as an adult tool but at reduced material cost. A failed strike wastes a small chip, not a carefully prepared core. Beginning this training at age 6 to 8 produced functional hunting competency by 12 to 14, 2 to 4 years earlier than unstructured learning would allow. This wasn't just practice. It was a caloric investment that returned yield in adolescence rather than adulthood. The counterintuitive detail: some Gargas handprints show missing or folded fingers in patterns too consistent to be accidental. The initiation marked the body permanently. A costly signal, in information theory terms, that could not be faked because it could not be undone. You have a spear. You made the kill yesterday. Not large, but yours. Tonight you sleep beside the carcass in the cold, listening. Nobody is coming to check on you. The group knows roughly where you are. That approximation is the full extent of the safety net. You have been building toward this moment since you were 6. Miniature tools first, lower quality flint, smaller handle, same motion. By 10, you were carrying real weapons. By 12, you were contributing food. By 14, you are here, alone, productive, and functional in a landscape that would kill an unprepared adult. The cave ritual came first. 3 months ago, you were led into a system so deep that the last of the outside light disappeared within the first 100 meters. Total darkness. Total silence. After 15 to 30 minutes in complete sensory deprivation. No light, no visual reference, sound amplified by stone walls. The nervous system begins producing its own input. Auditory phenomena. Visual experiences. The neural architecture generates signal when it receives none. The group called it contact with something beyond the living world. The neurological event was real, regardless of its interpretation. You came out different. That was the point. Then the shells. Before you left, someone placed a perforated spondylus shell, drilled near the hinge with a stone point, threaded onto cordage, around your neck. It came from the sea. The sea is 500 kilometers south. Another teenager brought it here 2 seasons ago, trading it for something this band had and his didn't. You are now carrying 3 objects from your band northward. 2 flint blades of a design not yet used in the communities ahead, and the knowledge of a plant processing technique that extends root edibility by 18 hours. You are the information network. You are the trade route. You are 14. The air is cold and smells of blood and pine. The carcass is still warm on one side. You press your back against the heat and watch the tree line. The first break came with agriculture, roughly 10,000 years ago. Settled land tenure required adolescents to stay. The mobility that had made them the primary vectors of cultural innovation became a threat to property and crop cycles. The risk-taking that had fed the group's informational network became social disruption. Within a few thousand years, the adolescent's role shifted from frontier agent to field laborer. Geographically fixed, economically subordinate, waiting for inheritance. The second break was compulsory education, arriving across industrialized societies between 1750 and 1900. The specific capability removed was not the neurobiology of adolescent risk-seeking. That remains unchanged. What was removed was the infrastructure that channeled it productively. In a forager band, novelty-seeking drove hunting competency, long-distance travel, and alliance formation. In a school system, the same drives encounter academic ranking, peer hierarchy, and institutional compliance. The measurable cost. Adolescent depression and anxiety rates approximately doubled in the United States between 2010 and 2020. Simultaneously, the age of recognized adult capability has risen across every jurisdiction. Drinking, voting, financial independence, all pushed later. We did not just delay adulthood. We built an extended developmental limbo, populated it with a nervous system designed for deployment, and then diagnosed the friction as disorder. You manage your teenager's risk exposure through parental supervision and liability law. They sent theirs into the landscape alone at 14 and waited for them to come back. You measure adolescent development in academic grades and standardized testing. They measured it in kills made, distances traveled, and alliances built. You extend childhood to protect the adolescent. They ended it early to deploy one. The neurobiology hasn't changed. Only the channel it runs through has. And the channel we built doesn't fit. This content is intended strictly for educational and documentary purposes. All historical, archaeological, and scientific references are drawn from peer-reviewed research and named academic sources.